This is your first lesson on counseling. It is about the counselor. You can take as much time as you wish for your answers. Sometimes you may study the frame, then push the middle button to advance the program. There are generally two persons involved in a counseling situation: the counselor and the counselee. The counselee is the seeker of advice, knowledge, or guidance. The counselor is the one who advises. These, of course, are only capsule definitions, but in later programs they will be explained in terms of their functions, characteristics, and roles. First, it is important that you have an understanding of the counseling process. This process should be a partnership between the counselor and counselee, since the goal usually involves a change, behavioral, career, personal, or otherwise. Together they decide what kind of development the counselee wants for himself, and then work out the means to accomplish it. Talking over a problem, or asking advice about a difficult decision, or just verbally expressing a doubt to someone else is not unusual. Most people turn to someone else, if for no other reason than the satisfaction of human interaction. A good counselor can help to meet these needs, as well as many others. What does the counselee seek from the counselor? Often a person has thought much about his problem, but through the interaction is looking for guidance in reaching a decision, or assurance that the decision he has made is the right one. It is an unusual person who doesn't need some positive feedback, a pat on the back, or even a nod of approval. Everyone needs outside assurance to bolster confidence in themselves. The person seeking the interaction should also be open to new ideas offered by the listener. In many instances, the listener will have more objective insight into the situation and be able to offer alternative solutions which may be more satisfactory. Through interaction, the counselee is looking for what? The listener in these cases is counseling on a level that contributes to the unity of our society. Which of the following would be the best course of action for the listener to follow? There are several definitions of a counselor which we could examine. One of the simplest is one person attempting to help another through face-to-face interaction. Another definition of a counselor is one who offers assistance to another person in changing his attitudes and behavior through a series of direct contacts with that individual. Both of these definitions agree that the counselor is there to aid and assist the counselee. Both definitions indicate what type of relationship. Yes, some counseling is more effective on a one-to-one basis, while other problems may be dealt with in group situations. You will learn about both types of counseling in this series. But in either case, the counselor should be prepared to help each counselee understand his or her attitudes and behavior and make meaningful choices. Through this counselor-counselee relationship, learning takes place. They exchange information, share their feelings about a situation, and plan the possibilities to be explored and steps to be taken. This process will be dealt with more completely in the program on techniques. As the counselor works with the counselee, the counselor is reflecting his own personal views of human nature. To be an effective counselor, you must be sure of yourself. The counselor should have a high degree of self-understanding, the ability to know oneself. To be an effective counselor, you must understand your own needs and expectations. You must be able to accept yourself as a person of worth before you can accept another person's worth or merit. A counselor should have a high degree of what quality? The counselor should be able to say, I know myself, and I accept my good points as well as my bad ones. In professional terms, this would be described as a positive self-concept. This positive self-concept enables you to accept others. In our discussion thus far, you've probably noted that being a good listener is a form of counseling. For the person who desires to become involved in counseling on a level above just being a friend, it is necessary to consider the characteristics that describe a successful counselor. Of course, any one counselor does not have all the desirable traits, but they are goals for the counselor to be aware of and strive for in his relationship with the counselee. The one trait that is most necessary for success as a counselor is personal maturity. Other important characteristics of a good counselor are security, sensitivity, and objectivity. Security may be defined as a feeling of assurance or certainty, or freedom from anxiety or doubt. Sensitivity is acute awareness and understanding of others' needs. Objectivity is the ability to view matters from an impartial, unbiased perspective. Those three traits are requirements for a counselor, but there are other characteristics which contribute to good counseling. Some of these traits are understanding, a sympathetic attitude, friendliness, a sense of humor, stability, patience, sincerity, and tact. What do we mean by sensitivity? Fairness, tolerance, composure, broad-mindedness, kindliness, social intelligence, and poise are also important. What do we mean by security? Besides the characteristics already mentioned, the Association for Counselor Education and Supervision suggests a counselor should have these qualities: belief in each individual, commitment to individual human values, alertness to the world, and professional commitment. You've just studied several of the important characteristics of an effective counselor. Do you remember which was said to be the most important? Having looked at these characteristics, it is important to seek ways to be effective in your role as a counselor. Much research has been done on what determines the degree of success in the counseling situation. One of the most important aspects of the counseling situation is the attitude of the counselor. You may lack certain desirable characteristics that we've mentioned, but you will find the success of your counseling will depend greatly on your attitude. Through research, it has been found that the counselee does not interact as well with a counselor who merely listens and nods occasionally as he would with a counselor who demonstrates more involvement. Also, less interaction takes place with a counselor who uses test scores as the primary criteria for evaluation. Which of these contributes to a high degree of interaction between counselee and counselor? Yes, the counselor must show a genuine interest in the counselee. What is one of the most important aspects of the counseling situation? Another factor that leads to success in counseling is a high degree of self-exploration by the counselor. The professional term for this is introspection. To aid the counselee in this process, the counselor must be open and show the person that he accepts him as he is. This creates a comfortable atmosphere for the counselee, thus enabling him to verbalize his feelings. This, of course, leads him to a better understanding of himself. Which of these would have a higher degree of success in counseling? Yes, the counselee who feels this genuine interest from the counselor will have a higher success rate. People need someone to listen to them and talk to them about their problems. What do counselees need from counselors? Factory workers often discuss football scores, merits of one type of automobile over another, and the problems they have with their kids. Office workers may discuss problems with their families over their morning cup of coffee. Teachers meeting in the lounge after school discuss new methods of progressive education and the discipline problems within their classes. None of these people are consciously seeking definite answers to their problems, but they are involved in an informal counseling situation. They are seeking the relief that comes from talking over their problems. You already know that your attitude as a counselor is important, and that it is very important for the counselee to feel freedom to verbalize his feelings. A counselor who is receptive is one who is what? Again, as you assume the counseling role, you should evaluate yourself. Good counselors are usually mature, understanding, and patient, yet recognize their own shortcomings. Counselors, as well as counselees, must be introspective. They should be sensitive to the feelings of others and perceptive of themselves in relationship to other people. As a counselor, you will be making known your own values. However, you must accept the values of the counselee. You must not criticize, measure, or judge his set of values. Whose values must the counselor accept? You as a counselor must show that your attention centers on the counselee. You must be patient and objective. Although your opinions and standards may differ from those of the counselee, it is neither your right nor your position to judge him. Although you firmly believe something is right, you must be able to accept the possibility that the counselee is right in his belief, even though it differs from your own. There's room in this world for many beliefs and attitudes, and as a counselor, you must be sure enough of yourself and your beliefs to allow others the same freedom. As a counselor, what is your responsibility to the counselee? Everyone, of course, has the right to his own beliefs and set of values. Should the counselee adopt a counselor's standards as his own for an effective counseling situation? There are several different types of counselors that should be briefly defined in this program. First, the educational counselor, whose primary function is to assist persons in deciding upon their course of study. The second is the vocational counselor. He aids the person in the process of selecting and preparing for an occupation. An educational counselor helps the person choose what? The third type of counselor is the personal counselor. This counselor helps persons deal with personal problems that are common to us all at one time or another. For example, failure in school, feelings of inadequacy and inferiority, and any other matter of concern that the person feels to be a problem. Now that we have established what is necessary to be an effective counselor, in the next program we will deal with the other half of this one-to-one relationship, the counselee.